you some questions, and we'll get started, and then
Okay.
we'll see where the conversation goes. So,
All righty.
First of all, let me know your name.
Thomas Hayden.
Okay, and you were a trustee here with West Chester. What years were you trustee? That's the first tough question.
96 through 99 or 2000, yeah.
Okay, for a little bit. And you were Lakota superintendent before that.
Before that, Lakota superintendent from 1981 to 1994, I believe, yes.
Okay, a little bit of time. So how did you end up in Union Township, Ohio? Did you grow up in this area, or how did you end up here?
Well, I took the job at Lakota. I was raised on the west side of Cincinnati, so then we had moved to West Carrollton near Dayton, and I was assistant superintendent there with the district, and then I applied for the Lakota job when it came open, and here I am. And so we moved here, and we've lived in West Chester all our lives, actually, the family, and except we wanted to downsize, and we moved to Mason for 3 years, and we got out of there quickly and upsized back in West Chester. So that's why I'm here. But I grew up on the west side in Cheviot, Ohio.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then so what year did you start as superintendent of Lakota?
December 7th, 1981.
Oh, well, that's a day to remember, right?
Yeah, that's what I told everybody, but they didn't quite catch the.
They didn't catch it.
No. Okay.
So Lakota was a very different district then, but starting to grow, right? It was.
Oh yeah, it was Herb Henderson was superintendent, and he retired after 17 years, I think. And the district was around 6,000 students when I got here, which was big by suburban standards, really, and was just hitting a kind of a real growth spurt at the time. And by the time I left in '94, there was close to 12,000 students. So it was a lot of building new buildings and tax levies and everything. But we did fine, and the district grew, and I feel very proud of everything that we were able to accomplish. So.
Yeah. So what was the high school then? Was there just the one high school?
One high school down in Tylersville. Yeah,
Okay.
they built that. Maybe I'm digressing here, but I heard that they had to kind of get between Liberty Township and within Union Township,
Right.
and sort of close to the borderline, and it was out in the farmlands, and so they weren't. It was sort of like everybody's high school, and they wanted that. And then when the name, it actually started off as the district as Liberty Union District, and then they eventually went to the Lakota name, which has some origins in the Native American community as coming together. So that was what I wasn't here for that, but that's what I was told. That the old high school, which is still there, is 9th grade building, I think, but that was on Tylersville, and I think they built it around 57, 59, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, and it's still in service.
Oh yeah. I had a lot of memories there.
Right. So what, is there something you're most proud of in your work as superintendent in Lakota that you look back on? Do you think this was really a great thing to be part of, or?
Well, yeah, it was a lot of things going on. I guess I always, people got a little kind of, not unhappy, but just frustrated with all the portable classrooms and the growth and the bond issues and everything and this and that. And I always said, well, I don't know of any case where any child that came to the schools didn't have a place to sit, a desk, and materials and to learn. So we did almost doubled the size of the district. But I think kids were learning and test scores were improving, and it was a pretty positive experience, really. So. Yeah. That's what I always tell people about, so I guess that's what I'm most proud of.
Right. So when you left the superintendent position, did you leave that to go into business, or what was?
Not initially. I kind of did a couple of things that I was kind of like a fish out of water, and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then my son started his own business. Well, he grew up on the west side, but he was living in California, and he worked for a semiconductor company. And he started his business kind of there remotely and then moved back to Ohio and opened up a place here. The first one was over, we were down on Ashley Drive before we built the building down on Union Center. But prior to that, it was somewhere over in Crescentville or somewhere in that part of the district where the business sector or whatever. But anyway, so it started off with, I think it was about 3,000 or 5,000 square feet and went to 10, and then built the building on Union Center Boulevard, which was 25,000 square feet, and we added on to that twice. So when we left, or at least I left, it was about 60,000 square footage of business and a lot of employees, and it was fun. It was just fun being in business with my son. So
that is cool.
yeah.
So it was. I know it was your son's business, but
Yes.
was there a thought of starting his business somewhere else, or did you always want to start his business here in West Chester?
Well, technically he started it in San Jose, California,
Okay.
but he wasn't really a business other than in his garage. I mean, I tell people this, they don't believe it, but his first a track is a piece of equipment that's used in the processing of silicone wafers. And he built the first one. His customer was IBM. He built it in his garage in Livermore, California, and then sent it. That was the first sale, and he used that money to kind of expand the business, and then move back to Ohio. And we rented a couple of facilities and then built our own. So I was not a partner when he started the business, but I came in to it when we came to Ohio, because it was obviously doing well and growing, and so I found another niche and had a good time. So
Good deal. And then what possessed you to run for trustee?
well, that was before I got that involved with my son. Well, memory gets a little faded over time. I guess you know that. Don't just bear with me. But it was after I retired, I just felt like I got nothing to do. And when I started working for my son, I started just helping out. So I didn't really get into a full-time position with him until about 1996. And that's about the time I ran for trustee, okay? And so that was, in that interim, I was approached by some people I trusted, and they thought maybe it'd be a good idea if I ran for trustee. And I did, and it was, I learned an awful lot. Oh, did I learn, but I was able to win the election, and I had 4 years, but I says that it's time for other things, so I didn't run again. So
Was it a tough election? Some of them can be kind of tough.
Oh, I don't know. It was tough. I think I won by maybe 800 votes, so it wasn't a close one or something. I'm not sure of that number, but I get any election like that is tough. You know, the other guys want to win too, so So no, it was but it was a very gratifying experience. I learned an awful lot there as from being a superintendent where you work for a board to being part of a board, and it was like night and day. And I had to kind of adjust, what you're doing, how you're thinking, how you go about your business. So, but no, it was hey, I have no complaints. I've had a marvelous number of careers, I guess.
So who else was on the Board of Trustees with you who served?
Catherine Stoker and Jose Alvarez.
Okay, I talked to Jose yesterday.
Oh, good. How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's back on one of our zoning boards now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he probably couldn't stay away,
Can't. So what kind of things were the trustees thinking about when you were in office? What kind of things were happening?
The big thing was there was a license plate fee that was kind of an issue in the election, and building the interchange was the big deal, and it was a cornfield at the time, so that was what occupied a lot of our issues. Growth was always going on here and so on, but that was, I'd say, the big issue. We did some other things about home rule and changing the name of the township. I didn't vote on that because that happened after I was part of what proposed it. But then after that, it was not actually voting on it. But I always said, hey, I helped us change the name.
Right, it was the
Boy-
electorate that
Yeah, and boy,
decided,
yeah,
right?
it was confusing for everybody. So I think that cleared up a lot of notions and
Yeah,
myths or whatever. So anyway, so.
right. So at what point were you involved with the Union Center interchange? So it was still cornfields then?
Yep.
You were probably in the kind of the early stages of putting all those pieces together to build the interchange, or?
Yeah, well, the process was ongoing, and I think that was I think there was a group called I-75, or it was, had a 75 in its name. And so that was a group that was trying to lobby for this and get this done, and a lot of people were involved in that. So, but I was on board then as a trustee, and it got to the point where wasn't sure how this was going to be financed, because the license plate fee was under stress from on legal issues and so on. But whatever. So we changed the approach and went to tax increment financing, which was provided then the funds to actually build the interchange. So I was involved in that and helping that happen. So I guess if I cite one thing in accomplishment in the as a trustee, that would be that one.
Has to be a great sense of pride, because you
Oh,
live in
yeah,
township
yeah,
now, and it's
yeah,
because of that
yeah.
interchange, and.
Yeah, well, we
things that
you know, this
happen.
license plate fee became a big issue, and I helped get rid of it in terms of switching to another way to finance it, and with Dave Gully and a lot of others. So
So Dave Gully was the administrator.
yes,
then,
oh yeah.
And he was always interesting to work with.
That's very interesting, very interesting.
dynamic.
No, it's we had some good years, good years. So.
What about, how in tune were you with like the growth of the police department and the fire department and, planning and zoning? All those things were so busy during that time.
Oh, yeah, well, it was just a lot going on, and every division was growing. The police, it was levies and growth and all sorts of things. So it wasn't any one that was predominant about it all. It was all just a matter. I was so used to growth, though, having been the superintendent when the size of the district doubled. So you do what you need to do. So.
Right. And so you were involved in, both of these things happening in some way, the Lakota School District and kind of this move people were making here.
Oh, yeah.
And the transition from a very rural agricultural area to a traditional suburban community to then this very commercial kind of place as well.
I always not laughed, but marveled that people would say they'd move here because the taxes were reasonable, the schools were good, it was a great place to live, but they couldn't. They didn't want anybody else to come in, and so it was sort of like, oh, you want me to pass a law or put up a barrier? So okay, where it's all good for us, you stay away. And I said, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's so the district was not suffering, but with its success, but had to deal with success because that was people wanted to be here, and they just kept coming.
Right. Yeah. And people wanted to stay their well-kept secret, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. No, they didn't. I said that's absurd. How can you take a position like that? But anyway, we got through a lot of bond issues, a lot of tax levies, but it all turned out, I think, pretty good.
Yeah, kind of the way it was supposed to. And I think even trustees before you, it felt like, by the time you came in too, that there was already kind of this vision or a direction that the township was
Oh
headed
yeah.
Yeah.
It's growth. I mean, we were probably got bigger than the city of Hamilton at one. Maybe we are now. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So it was. I can't remember the numbers, but it's grown quite a bit. It's I remember the 2-lane highways, Tylersville, with cornfields, and it was one Kroger store. I think it's a Big Lots now or something. I don't know, but it was just marvelous to see all this happen. And of course, traffic was tough then because there was a lot of growth, and the roads were rural basically. But so now the traffic still is bad, but it's accommodating a lot more people and a lot more families. So it's I think the township is all people involved kept kept up with things and kept things moving along so that the quality of life would not deteriorate here. And I don't think that's happened at all, no. We came back. We left for a couple years and came back.
Right. People, I think, often view this, they see the community now and feel like it probably took, many, many decades for it to be like this, and that it was a very gradual process. It really wasn't.
No, God.
For those of us,
No.
1990 doesn't seem that long ago at all, does it?
Well, I got here in the 80s, so the 80s were, the township and the district, it was really, really a climbing. They had, I remember one year we had maybe 7,000 or 8,000 students, but from June to September, we registered another 800 kids, and that was like 8-9% increase. And but we managed it. We managed it. Had a lot of good people working at Lakota, and the board was supportive and got it done. So it was good for kids.
Right. Okay. Anything else you want to share? Thoughts about we're celebrating our bicentennial.
Well, it's hard when I think about it. It's hard to believe that this township has been in existence for 200 years. It was first, which I always kidded people about, but we were Liberty Township, then it became Union Township, and then it became West Chester Township. So it's quite a history, and I think it's good. There's a lot of good people here. So it's growth. It's painful for people sometimes. It's tough for people that are in positions of authority to kind of make sure you do it right. And so I think by and large, everybody here pretty much did it right. So I'm here. I'm happy to be here, and
thank you, Tom.
That's it.
No, we appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Good. That was easy. That wasn't too painful, was it?
No. Are we done? Are we done?
We're done.
Okay. All right. All right. Good.
Unless you have some great story you want to tell me about Dave Gully or.
Well, probably the camera off. And,
No, it's not.
we probably better just leave those kind of stories alone. No, there's a lot of good people worked here and passed through, and so no, it's.
Yeah, I've been working here about 20 years, so
Yeah,
Dave hired
yeah.
me, and
Yeah.
he's just been always a character.
Oh yeah, but he's totally retired now, I think.
He
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
He was up in.
Yeah, well, he was. He always had a new idea, a new way to approach a problem. So good for him. So.
But it was the visionaries, right? People then, and during your time and before even, that had this vision for what West Chester would become. And
Yeah, I think I was on a committee once where they were talking about the next 20 years, and I think I was still superintendent at the time. So it's amazing.
There was a vision committee.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's pretty much turned out the way it was envisioned. So, which is not always the end result. So.
Noise happening.